Who's providing all the weapons? It costs a lot of money to run a terrorist organization. It costs a lot of money to build the tunnels. It costs a lot of money to get those missiles brought in to rain down on Israel, so Israel would react. And so Bob is saying, when you have a world financial crisis, you got tens of millions of people unemployed in India. Of course, in China, it looks like they're going to have, 100 million or more unemployed over there before long. The solution is always a war. And I think, and I tend to agree, I think it's only a matter of time before they're able to draw India and Pakistan and perhaps the whole of the Middle East into a great and terrible and horrible war. But if it comes about, America is going to be involved as well. And it'll be an engineered war like every other war that we've had. Our telephone number, of course, is 1-888-24-LIBERTY, 1-888-24-LIBERTY, or 464-8295. But, Bob, before we go on, I'd like you to tell our listeners how they can get a copy of the International Forecaster and of course, how they can get in touch with you if they want to. And I would simply point out, I talked to a good friend of ours, a good supporter, who told me that he every week he looks forward to your newsletter coming, on Wednesday and Saturday. Of course, he says he looks forward to it. He reads every word of it, and of course, his wife says, "You seem to be obsessed with this." And he said, "No, simply I'm just watching what's going on. There's nothing we can do about it." But it is fascinating to see this whole incredible scenario unfold, and I had to agree with him. I mean, I look forward to getting the International Forecaster every Wednesday and every Saturday, and if it doesn't come, I simply send an email and said, "Hey, I didn't get my forecaster," and Bob always gets me one. But go right ahead, Bob. How can people get in touch with you if they'd like to get your material and know what's going on throughout the world? Because, of course, the International Forecaster doesn't just cover what's going on in America, but fascinating facts that you're never going to read about in the controlled media. Go right ahead.
Well, I think that's the key. You're getting the truth, and you can't get it anyplace else. And we're really a research organization, and we go out and we pick up a lot of news that you won't see, and some of it that you will, that's vitally important. And then we try to bore in on events, particularly outside the United States, because there's so little coverage of what goes on in Asia or Latin America or Europe or in all over the world that indirectly and directly affect us. And so we go and do that sort of thing, going through 36 publications a day and about 350 pieces of research a day. I probably answer 50 emails a day and probably make about 10 or 15 phone calls to people who really need help. And I think I'm probably the only newsletter writer in the world who does that. And we answer everybody. We're here to help people. And we don't ask anything for that. We just like people to subscribe so they'll know what's going on and they can pass that information on to other people. The Forecaster is about business, finance, economics, and social and political issues all over the world. We publish on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Usually runs around 35 pages or so each time. And for those who are not on the Internet, we have a printed version that goes out twice a month as well. And for those of you who would like a free introductory copy, you can go to our site on the Internet. That address is theinternationalforecaster.com, the International, FORECASTER.com, or you can email us. That address is international_forecaster@yahoo.com, international_forecaster@yahoo.com, or you can call toll-free to 800-375-4188. That's 800-375-4188.
All right, fine. So our guest is Bob Fletcher, Bob Chapman. Our telephone number is 1-888-24-LIBERTY, 1-888-24-LIBERTY, or 464-8295. We've got Ray calling from Santa Cruz, and we'll go to Ray. And if you're out there and you'd like to talk to Bob, why, don't be bashful. We're living in probably an unparalleled time in history. We are seeing the greatest transfer of wealth from the common people to the wealthy elite. I mean, after all, we have all these derivatives out there. Every derivative contract, there's somebody on either side of it. I mean, money is being transferred, but who's ending up with all the money? That's the question, and nobody wants to talk about that. Where did this almost $2 trillion go that the government, $2 trillion, and they will not tell Congress where it went. They will not tell Bloomberg, of course, who brought a lawsuit under the Freedom of Information Act. They will not tell Bloomberg where $2 trillion went. They know where it went. But, of course, they say, well, it's a trade secret. It's an issue of national security. No, ladies and gentlemen, the rich are getting richer. Of course, they're stealing your future. And you must understand there is a cabal out there that works with the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, and, of course, the Bilderbergers and the Group of 30, which are subversive organizations. Why? Because they want to destroy the integrity of our nation, to destroy our Constitution, and to merge us into a world government. And that is a subversive activity. I wonder why nobody ever calls that subversive. It's no more subversive than, it's no less subversive than what the communists wanted to do, was to topple our nation and to take us into a world government. And that is exactly why the people from the elitists here in the United States have been funding communism since its inception, to draw attention away from what they were doing here in America. And if you don't believe they control the Obama administration, the new Deputy Secretary of State, he's the one who already run the State Department for Hillary, the number 2 man in the State Department, James Steinberg, where does he come from? Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, National Security Advisor James Jones, where did he come from? Trilateral Commission, where does, of course, the Secretary of Commerce, Bill Richardson, of course, he's withdrawn, but he came to the Council on Foreign Relations. Tom Daschle, Council on Foreign Relations. Bilderberger, he's going to be a Secretary of Health and Human Services. There's certainly the Chief Economic Advisor to the President. That's a man named Paul Volcker, a special position they presented for him. Trilateral Commission, Bilderberger's Council on Foreign Relations, Group of 30, Secretary of Treasury, Tim Gathner, all the same 4 organizations. We have an elite that runs the country, but of course we can't let the American people know that. They've got to believe we're going to have change. But the same people are in charge with the Obama administration that were in charge under the previous administration of George Bush. Let's go to Ray calling from Santa Cruz. Hi, Ray. Do you have a question for our guest?
Oh, yes. I have a couple of things I want to mention. I believe that they deliberately constructed a system of corporate welfare for big corporations where they don't pay any taxes. And the truth is they don't pay any taxes. And, of course, Bush gave out these tax cuts for the top 10% or 20% of the wealthiest people in America. But also, I think a lot of money was drained off into the war, into the 2 wars. And if only we could stabilize the currency, if we could go back to a different standard and just stop this. It's like a pyramid. It reminds me of like a pyramid type situation, where you have a pyramid of wealth. Where it's really crazy.
All right, finally, let's get Bob's comment on that. Bob, what do you think about what Ray's saying?
Well, the key is to get rid of the Federal Reserve System, and they're not willing to voluntarily leave, and Congress is not going to put them out. And so, what else can we do? One of the things that's been happening over the past year is that the Doha Accords have been a total failure, and they are the extension of free trade and globalization. And it reached a point where it just stopped. It's been stopped for the last 2 to 3 years, but they kept on dragging it out, trying hopefully to make it work. The the forces that stopped it were third world nations who very simply were tired of getting screwed by the major nations, and especially in agriculture. In the major nations, agriculture in all of them is heavily subsidized, and they essentially wanted to allow the third world countries to join in this pursuit of free trade, mainly for agriculture. And what it would have done is destroy the agricultural structure in all of these countries like Brazil and so on. And they happen to be the leader of the opposition. And so with that done and been a failure, and of course you don't read that in any of the media or see it because they hide that.